Okay, hello, this is part 3 of today's video, May 12th of 2020. We're going to continue on with countable and non-countable nouns. So, we learned about using how many and how much. So we're going to review that right now. So, when we're trying to make a question with how many, those how many is for use for countable nouns. So countable nouns for how many. And here, so in the book, there's only one way of asking a question using how many. So I made a few examples. Or 3 examples, and then some sample answers of how to respond back to that question. So here we go. So here I have how many blank do you have? And another question. So let's go over this. How many blank do you have? And for a countable noun, I'm gonna go with. Let's just go with apple. Apple. So apple. I'm going to use the countable noun apple as an example. So here, what I'm going to say is, how many apples do you have? So when we use a question with how many, here, the noun, how many here, the noun has to be in plural form. So how many apples? That's why I have a parentheses and a letter S in there. So here, it'll be apples. You know what? I'm actually going to write it here. So, how many apples? A-P-P-L-E-S. How many apples do you have? And then I wrote 4 ways of responding back to this question. So, and then here are the greens. The greens are, as I explained in the part 2 of these are called quantifiers. It's a word or phrases or phrases that help express the amount of something, right? So I have a few blank. So in this case, we're using apple, so I'm gonna keep using it. So I have a few apples. I have here, we can use a specific number. So if it's more than 1, we can say I have, like for example, let's say 3. So I have 3 apples, right? So everything here, and then here for these answers, you have to use a plural form. So the question starts with how many apples do you have? I have a few apples. And if there are more than 1 apple, so I say I have, for example, 3. I have 3 apples. Here, apples. I have a couple of apples. And here, I don't have any apples. So these 3 are for cases where you have certain amount of apples. And here is when you have 0 apple, 0. So here you can say I don't have any, or you can say I don't have any apples. But for this question, let's say you only have 1 apple, right? 1. Then here, for a specific number, you have to say I have 1 apple. Here you don't have to use a plural form because there's only 1. But for other cases, you have to use a plural form. So you have to letter S for this noun, apple. And then as I said before, there are different rules for different words in order to be a plural form. Remember, there's a regular plural form and then there's irregular plural form. And that was, the example was broccoli. Broccoli is irregular. So singular form of broccoli is broccoli, and then plural form of broccoli is broccoli. There's no, you don't need to add the letter S, it's just the exact same word. So that's what we call an irregular noun, countable noun. So continuing on. Here we have a question: how many blank are there? So same thing. I'm going to use apples. How many apples are there? And I'm going to there are. I'm going to keep using 3. So there are 3 apples. 3 apples. There are lots of apples. And then if we don't have any, if there are 0 apples, we're going to say there aren't any apples. So we continue to use the plural form of the noun. So here's also plural form. So how many apples with a S. And then if there's only 1, what do you think we have to say? How many apples are there? And if we only have 1 apple, then we say, instead of there are, we say there is. There is 1 apple, and we don't have to, we write it in a singular form, so it would be A-P-P-L-E. Next one, how many blank do you need? So how many apples do you need? Here I have a few sample answers. I need a few apples. I need a lot of apples. I need 3 apples. And as I said before, if we have only 1 apple, we can say I need an apple. A-N. So you can say I need 1 apple. So 1. So 1 apple or an apple. Remember, if it's single, we have to consider the vowel A, E, I, O, U. So we can say, I need, how many apples do you need? I need 1 apple. 1. Or I need an apple with A-N. So important thing here to see is that for the question, how many blank do you have? How many blank are there? How many blank do you need? The noun has to be plural form. Plural. This is in the question form, it has to be plural, not a singular. So we don't say, how many apples do you need? You don't say that. How many apples do you need? And then for the answers, it really depends on how many you actually have of that item. So if it's only 1, you can say, I have 1 apple. I have an apple, A-N. Here, this is how many apples are there. If there are only 1, I say, there is an apple, or there is 1 apple. Apple is not a plural form. And here, I need an apple, A-N, or I need 1 apple. So, and now, we're going to talk about how much question for the non-countable nouns. Okay, so we form a question called how much for a non-countable nouns. Right here, non-countable. So same thing, I made few questions with how much, and I have sample answers that goes along with it. So here we have, how much do you have? How much blank do you have? I have some, and here also the green parts are quantifier, okay? I have some blank, I have a lot of blank. I don't have any blank. I don't have much blank. So non-countable noun. Why don't we use, let's see. Why don't we use milk? Milk. Let's use the word milk. So we're going to say, how much milk do you have? I have some milk. I have a lot of milk. I don't have any milk. I don't have much milk. So here, I don't have any is when you have zero milk. And I don't have much is similar to I have some milk. But here the quantifier much, we can only use it for a negative statement. Here we say don't have, this is a negative form of it. So we can use only use this form for a negative. So I'm gonna circle this. So we can only use it when it's negative. Like here it says don't. So negative form. So one more time. And then it is also important to notice that here, unlike the how many for the countable, there is no plural form of the non-countable noun. So we don't have to add any other letter. So milk is going to be just milk. So how much milk? It's not going to be milk, right? Because it's not countable. So continuing on, another question similar using how much is how much blank is there? So we're going to use milk again. So how much milk is there? Milk. There is a lot of milk. There is some milk. There isn't much milk. Same thing. Here we have much. Also, is for a negative statement. So it has a similar meaning with there is some. So if we say there is some milk, there isn't much milk, they're pretty similar meaning, but we can only use this quantifier when it's a negative statement. Here is there isn't. And then here, in most cases, for the countable noun question, how many, the noun has to be plural form, right? But here, it doesn't have to be because, as I said, it's non-countable. So we have is. How much milk is there, right? So we say there is a lot, there is some, there isn't much. But remember I said there are ways for us to use, there are ways for us to count non-countable nouns. And then we use, and then in order to do that, we use something called partitives, right? Partitives. So for milk, we can use partitive carton. So how much milk is there? Here, they're just saying there is a lot of milk, there is some milk, but let's say I want to count these milk. Then I have to use partitives, right? So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to write an example. So I'm going to say how much milk is there, and then let's say we have, we're going to use partitives carton, so we're going to use carton, C-A-R-T-O-N, carton, as a partitive, and then we're going to say there are 3 cartons. So how much milk is there? Because there are, I'm going to count them in a way. I'm going to say there are 3 cartons, because if there are 3, so we're using this phrase to count the non-countable noun, right? Cartons. So if it's a singular, there's 1 carton, but if there's more than 1, so we have to say cartons with an S of milk. Milk, period. So, so for the sample answers, how much milk is there? And then if there, I said instead for, I'm going to use the carton, and I want to be very specific and countable. Then I say there are 3 cartons of milk. But if we use these quantifier, we don't say the exact number, then we can say, so here, there is a lot of milk. There is some milk. There isn't much milk. But if I'm trying to count this non-countable noun, and then I know that there are 3 cartons, we're going to say there are 3 cartons of milk. So, now, last question. How much blank do you need? So how much milk do you need? I need a bunch of milk. I need tons of milk. So this is another, it's a different quantifier. Here we can use, and then here it's just gonna be milk and milk. But as I said before, if I want to make it countable, I can use a partitive. So I can say I need let's see, carton. So I need 3 cartons of milk. Is fine here. Oh, yeah. So it could be I need 3 cartons of milk, right? So I think this part, this plural form here, there are, it only matters for this question, but yeah, that's something you should be aware. So, one more time to wrap it up. For how many questions, how many, the noun, the countable noun that we're gonna say how many apple, let's say the noun is apple, going back to it, it has to be in a plural form. So how many apples do you need? How many apples are there? And then for how much, it doesn't need to, I mean, since non-countable nouns are, there is no singular or plural form, so you just leave it as it is. So how much milk, for example, how much milk do you have? How much milk is there? How much milk do you need? For the question, if we have to ask, it has to be in a singular form though. So is there? How much milk is there? But when we're answering back, depending on the situation, if we can say there is a lot, or there is some, or there isn't much. But if we want to be very specific and we want to use a specific number, we can use a partitive to say, instead of there is, we can say there are 3 cartons of milk. Okay? So I hope that was helpful. So that's it for how many and how much questions for for countable and non-countable nouns. So that's it for part 3 of today's video. Next week we're going, not next week, this coming week, we're going to finish reviewing Unit 7, and then we're going to start reviewing Review 8. Okay? Alright, thanks for watching.